Hello, this video is on topic 3.11, solving fraction problems. We're going to solve application problems with fractions and mixed numbers, and these will be division and multiplication word problems. It's completely normal for students to have trouble making the decision whether to multiply or divide in fraction problems. When in doubt, you can follow a couple steps that can help you to determine what answer best fits with the question. So the first thing you can do is, if you're having trouble with the fractions, you can change them to whole numbers, meaning you can estimate them and then reread the problem to see if it's easier to figure out what to do. Sometimes just the numbers themselves are a hindrance. Or the second option is you could work the question both ways. So you could try both multiplication and division to compare answers. Usually one of the answers seems to make sense and one doesn't. There are some times where it will be tough to know, but that is a strategy that can work. As in all word problems, we have a number of steps for problem solving, and the first one is the most important one, which is reading the question very carefully. Second step is underlining, highlighting, deciding what numbers are important for the question. Sometimes drawing a visual, or at least trying to visualize what's going on, can help you a lot. Writing an equation, so what's the plan? And estimating. We can estimate the fractions into whole numbers, making the problem easier to read. Once you calculate and get an answer, you can check your answer, and then you're going to write your answer in a statement. We're going to look at some special questions for multiplication. The number one word that you need for multiplication word problems with fraction is this tiny word, the word of. It signals multiplication because it's a piece or a part of something. So if we look at this first example, a bingo player won $100. She kept 3/4 of her winnings and spent the rest on more bingo cards. How much money did she keep? What they are asking is, what is 3/4 of 100? Well, the way to actually solve this is to multiply. So 3/4 of 100 means that we set up the fraction 100 over 1, and then we go ahead and we can do the cross reducing that we need to reduce. And the answer is $75. 3/4 of 100 through multiplication gives us a smaller number, gives us the part of the 100 that we need, which in this case is $75. The next example, Bill wanted to strengthen the coolant in his Toyota by adding 2.5 liters of antifreeze to the radiator. In the process, he spilled 2/3 of it. How many liters of antifreeze was lost? Well, we can imagine Bill standing there holding on to the jug of antifreeze and spilling it. But he didn't spill all of it. He spilled 2/3 of it, so not all was lost. So there we say, okay, what is 2/3 of 2.5? And I'm not going to solve this one. You can see the example in your book. But what is crucial is the understanding that when we want to know a part of something, we can then change this into multiplication. 2/3 times 2.5 means we have to change 2.5 to an improper fraction. And then we can multiply 2/3 times 5/2 to get our answer. So while multiplication problems almost always involve figuring out a part of something, problems involving division are more about looking at words about how much is each person getting, how big is each part, what is this per hour or per day or per week. So it's always about this divvying up or dividing up, and the questions can be different in their nature. And sometimes I say, if you get that kind of tingling feeling about a question, the chances are it's probably division. So in this first example, it's all about the sharing. In total, a family of 6 children collected 3.5 kilograms of Halloween candy. Their mother asked them to share the candy equally. How many kilograms of candy did each child get? So here we can imagine the mother standing over the kids with a big pile of candy, and that we're going to be giving each child a portion of that candy. This shows us division. With division, we have to be very careful to put the numbers in the correct order in which they go. So what are we dividing? Are we dividing children or are we dividing candy? That's the question we ask ourselves. We're dividing the candy up, so we're going to be taking the 3.5 kilograms and dividing it amongst the 6 children. We can't go based on smaller and larger numbers. We have to go based on the story. So we're dividing the candy amongst the children, and then from there we're going to follow our rules, which says that we're going to change this mixed number to an improper fraction. We're going to change this whole number to an improper fraction. The 6 becomes 6/1. And then we're going to keep, change, and flip. We're going to keep the 7 halves, change to multiplication, and flip to 1/6. We look for cross-reducing, and there's nothing in this problem, so we can now multiply numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. And so what this means is that each child receives 7/12 of a kilogram. Each child receives less than 1 kilogram, but together the 6 of them make 3.5 kilograms. For the second question, if I can draw a picture, one of the world's worst drawers, you can draw a picture too, or at least imagine what's happening. Because in this question, Superstore buys walnuts by the barrel, so a big barrel of walnuts, and puts them in bags, 1.25 kilograms of each bag for sale to the public. So they are dividing the walnuts into individual bags for sale. If the shipment of walnuts weighs 280 kilograms, how many bags can they fill up? How many bags would be needed to prepare this whole barrel for sale? So we can see that we're not just taking a chunk of the total, we're actually doing repeated removal of the walnuts from the barrel. And when we repeatedly subtract or take away, then we have division. So what are we dividing? We're dividing up the 280 kilograms, and we're dividing them into 1.25 kilogram bags. So for this problem, we need to change to improper fractions. 280/1 divided by the mixed number becomes an improper fraction. So we have this as 5/4. So that's our first step, change to improper. And then our second step is to keep, change, and flip. So the 280/1 is kept. We change the division to multiplication, and we go for our reciprocal. Now we have some big numbers here. So we're going to divide 280 divided by 5. So that might take some scratch work on the side, but we can definitely divide by 5. And 280 divided by 5 is 56. And 56 times 4, again, we do some work on the side. We get 224/1, which as a whole number is 224. And so we need 224 bags if we want to divide all of those walnuts in that barrel. For question number 3, we won't solve this one, but a shopper purchased a 5.5 kilogram turkey for $22. How much did the turkey cost per kilogram? If we look at what the question is asking, the question wants to know money per kilogram. The question is wanting to know 2 units, money and kilograms. There's only one way to get 2 units in an answer, and that's through division. So because the question wants money per kilograms, we are going to divide in that same order. We're going to take $22 divided by 5.5 kilograms, and what that does is it gives us money per kilograms in our final answer. And we are going to follow the same steps, setting this up as 22 over 1 divided by the improper fraction of 5.5, which is 11 over 2. And then we're going to keep, change, and flip in order to solve for the cost per kilogram. 3.11 do together. The first question is using that all-important word of 3/5 of 200. So we want a part of the whole, so we're going to multiply. 3/5 times 200, and because that's a whole number, we're going to make it into a fraction by placing it over 1. Now we can look to cross reduce. We have 5 and 200. Both are divisible by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 200 divided by 5 is 40. And then we can go ahead and multiply. 3 times 40 is 120, and 1 times 1 for the denominator is 1. And because we have an improper fraction, we can express it as a whole number there. We can get rid of that 1 in the denominator, and so we're going to see that the answer here is 120. So 3/5 of $200 is $120. For number 2, a sale advertises half off everything in the store. If the regular price of a television is $390, what is the sale price? So this is a really important question. When we see half off, we have a couple of options. First option is we can divide by 2. And that's an option that we use in life all the time. So we can take $390 and divide it by 2. Second option, using the fraction, is to actually multiply by half, because remember, when we multiply by a proper fraction, we're getting a smaller number. So what is half of $390? Well, this means half times $390. And so when we multiply by half, it's the same thing as dividing by 2. And that's really, really important. So once we have the fraction set up, we are actually going to be dividing by 2 when we cross reduce. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 390 divided by 2 is 195. And that's some work that we'll have to do over on the side. Then when we multiply 1 times 195, we get 195, and 1 times 1 is 1. And we know that we express this as a whole number. So half off, or half of $390 is $195. For number 3, the Scouts are doing a fundraiser that has them selling jelly beans to kids in school. If they get a shipment of 5 kilograms and put the jelly beans in 1/20 kilogram bags, how many bags can they fill? Well, in this case, it's very similar to the Superstore question, where we're getting a big quantity and we are placing that quantity into many bags. So we're dividing them up into bags that each hold less than 1 kilogram. So because the 5 kilograms is a large number, that's our total. That's going to go first, divided by the bags. So the 1/20th of the kilogram. So that's going to give us the total number of bags. So we take 5 over 1 divided by 1/20, which we know we need to keep, change, and flip. So this becomes 5 over 1 times the reciprocal, which is 20 over 1. And 5 times 20 is 100. So we will have 100 bags from this 5 kilogram shipment.